Checkmate in 4 moves. How do we do it? It's very simple. We just have to get this queen over here, but with support of another piece. So how do we do it? We start with e4. Black usually would just go e5, right? Now we bring the queen out. See, the queen is attacking f7, but king is defending it right now, and queen is attacking e5. So black will want to defend the pawn with the knight or with the pawn. Now we bring the bishop out for support to the queen. And if black makes a careless move, which looks very tempting to attack the queen, before he knows it, the game will be over. Checkmate in 4 moves. So all we did was we moved a pawn to the center to open up the queen, and we moved the queen to h5. We moved the bishop to c4, and then checkmate on f7. So this is a very easy checkmate to do if your opponent is not very experienced and if your opponent is pretty new to chess. So this is something all of us start playing chess with, right? When we start playing chess, we try to do this checkmate every game. We simply bring out our queen and try to mate our opponent. So one thing to understand is after e4, e5, queen h5, some opponents would get tempted to just play g6, which looks like it's kicking the queen away, but it's not. It's a blunder. We won't get the checkmate we wanted, but now we will get the rook. It's a fork. So black will have to block it with the bishop of queen and we get the rook. Black will take our pawn, but doesn't matter. We can just move the king or we can block with the knight, even block with the bishop. So it's completely fine for us and it is winning for us. So you can try this checkmate when you're playing against your friends. If they are good at chess, if they're already experienced at chess, they will defend. So we will also see how to defend it. So that if your opponents try it against you, you should know how to deal with it properly. Before we go to the black side of things on how to defend, you have to understand playing queen h5 and trying the scholar's mate is not a good opening because we are bringing out our queen too early. In openings, we know the principles. We have to develop our knights and bishops first and then do castling. Taking out the queen makes the queen vulnerable to attacks. Like pieces can come out after black defends the threats. Black will start bringing out the pieces, and your queen will have to run here and there. You won't lose your queen, but it can become difficult for your queen to survive here. So that is why taking out the queen early is not a good idea, but it's just a trick in which you try to checkmate your opponent, and if your opponent falls for it, the game is over in 4 moves. Now, let's see how we defend this. After opponent plays queen h5, they can also play queen f3. Then we just play knight f6 and everything is great, right? When he plays queen h5, a lot of people play g6, which we saw as a blunder because of queen takes e5 and the rook is gone. So we won't do that. And we also won't play knight f6, which looks like a good move, but we simply lose our pawn. So also not a good idea. We simply bring out our knight. We defend the pawn. There's no threat of queen f7 now. So let them play bishop c4. Fine, no problem. So now there's a threat. And now we have to defend. Here, if you're careless, next move is checkmate. So we've lost a lot of games like that. All of us have, right? So after losing a few games, you'll start to understand that this is a serious threat and has to be defended. So how do we defend this? The best move, you can see here the engine's recommendation. The best move is g6. We are basically shooing away the queen. One move back, this would have been a blunder because of queen e5. But now knight's already defending it. So there's no threat. So g6, attacking the queen, the best square for the queen would be f3. Renewing the threat on f7. Again, if you're careless and play a silly move, game is over on f7. So again, we have to do the same thing. We have to deal with this threat. Best moves, knight f6. Just bring out your knight and everything is defended, right? Now it's fun time for you. Okay, knight d4 is coming, d6 and bishop g4 is coming. So you can attack the queen in all sorts of ways. So usually white would just play c3 or knight e2 just to stop knight d4. One thing to remember when you defend it like this is your bishop does not belong on this beautiful square. It's a natural square in other openings, but here you already played g6, right? So you got to play bishop g7 and plug those dark squares because otherwise it can become very difficult for your knight and the dark squares around the king would be very weak when you castle. So it's important to play bishop g7, this move, next move, or later when you want to develop it, and then do castling and everything is great. And then you can attack the queen in different ways, and the position is good for black. So if black defends like this, black's position would be better than white's. So that is why trying scholar's mate is not a great idea for white if black defends properly. Now, there are other ways to defend. Some of you would actually, first we of course defend the pawn, and then when they play bishop c4, some of you would want to play queen e7. That's also fine. That's completely fine. Queen e7 is okay. You're bringing out a queen and defending f7. But normally we don't want to bring out our queen also too early, right? So that's why g6 and then after queen moves, knight f6 is the best option. But you can also play queen e7 and defend it. That is completely fine. Don't play knight h6. It will defend the pawn for now. But after something like d3, there will be a threat on h6. And when you take back, again checkmate happens. And moreover, the knight is not good in the corner. So you don't want knight h6, even though it defends it temporarily. So that's not a good idea. So you have two options basically to defend this. Just g6. Sorry, queen can't go like that. Queen f3, knight f6. One option. Second option is just queen e7. Or g6 and then queen e7. So either way, same thing. You can also play queen f6. Same idea. You're defending the pawn with the queen. So that if something takes, you can just take with the queen. So taking would be a blunder for white. So these are the ways in which you can deal with scholar's mate. But if you are new to chess and you want to like trick your opponents and you want to try this against your opponents as white, you can of course try this as white. Once you get better at chess, once you get to a particular level, let's say 600 plus on chess.com or around 800, 900 plus on chess.com, then this won't work with people. People will defend properly. Then we have to play normal stuff instead of queen h5, just regular openings and continue the games. This is just a trick which can work with some people, and with most people, it won't work. They will defend properly. Queen h5, bishop c4, and bang. And if g6, you just take here and you get the rook. And if they play knight f6, you simply get a pawn for free. Absolutely free, no cost, right? And what other option is there? There's not much to do here. Okay, they can play d6 or knight c6. And then when you play bishop c4, you're threatening mate. They can defend in a lot of ways, but there are only like two ways properly to defend it. And after they defend properly, you should not allow the queen to get attacked too much. For example, if they defend like this, then let's say you develop your knight, and when they play knight c6, you got to play knight e2. Don't allow knight d4. And let's say they play bishop g7, just castle. And also bishop g4 is a small threat, so you can play h3 before previous move itself. So this is the way to deal with the position. You'll be in a slight disadvantage because your queen is sitting where the knight should be sitting, but it's all right. So that's it. So this is an opening. It's called the wayward queen attack, and if it can end in a mate in 4 moves, if opponent does not defend properly and if you play properly.